Hey guys, welcome back. So this week we are doing sort of a little one-off project. A local church around here has asked me to make them a new cross for Easter. They've got this cross that's outside all year long, but it's been there for a number of years. It's starting to kind of get a little bit rotten. So I'm going to make them a new one. It should be a pretty easy project here, and we're going to be making it out of cedar, so hopefully it should be a bit more rot resistant, last them a little bit longer. Alright, we've got our logs cut down into our beams that we need, and these are 6x6s, so a fairly hefty chunk of wood here. And the next step for this is to square off the ends that need squaring off. Of course, one end's going to be down on the ground, so we don't really care about that side, but the other three ends, we need to get those squared off, and then we're going to notch these together. So we'll take kind of half a width out of one part and then half a width out of the other, then they'll set in together and kind of notch into each other. Alright, so before we start this next step, I kind of feel the need to briefly explain what we're doing before we start doing it. So for the bottom part of this cross that's going to be in the ground, there's several different methods that you can do to help kind of prevent rot from happening and keep bugs from getting into it and whatnot. Now, of course, the main thing is this is cedar, so hopefully that should be sort of a preventative in itself, but we're also going to do something else to kind of help keep this below ground part better, hopefully a little bit longer. And the method that we're going to use is charring. Now, as you kind of may already be seeing, burning and crosses do not always go well together, at least in American history. So I want to make it very clear that we are charring just part of this cross. We are not burning a cross. Now, something to do with the charring, once it kind of gets that blackened wood going there, it starts charring the wood. That helps to prevent insects from wanting to go in. It's a method that's been around for a very long time, so we're just going to give that a try. I've never done it before, but we're just going to do this bottom 1.5 feet or so and see how this works. Well, we got a nice little char on the bottom of our cross here. Like I said, I've never done this before, so I think that's about what you want for it. And I also might have some explaining to do to one of our neighbors. I saw them drive by on their four-wheeler, so they they might have some questions about what was going on here just now. Alright, so with the bottom part charred and that's ready to go, the next thing to do is we're going to put a stain sealer on the cross just to help protect it a little bit more. But before we do that, I want to hit it with the sander real quick, kind of smooth it up a little bit. And there's a few little spots on here where it's picked up color from something else that it's rubbed against, so that'll help get any of those little blemishes out of it here before we put some stain sealer on it. Okay, so one last thing here before we stain and seal our cross is we need to hook these two pieces together. Now, I've kind of kicked around a couple ideas of how I wanted to do that, and the thing that I've kind of come up with, I've never done it before, I think it's going to work, is we're going to take a couple big old framing nails like this, and we're going to drive them into the middle here. And we'll put them, you know, halfway, third of the way in or so. And then I've got my grinder over here. We're gonna knock off the head, sharpen that top, then take our cross piece here and put it down on top and then drive it down on top those. So the nail's gonna hopefully be driven into both sides, and we'll put a couple of them in there just to hold it a little bit better. Hopefully it's gonna work. We'll find out here in a minute. So we're gonna go ahead and put a stain sealer on this. Now, like I said, it does have some stain in it, so we're gonna lose a little bit of our nice contrast here between the white and the red heartwood, but the stain will help to make the wood last longer. Something about the dye in it does help preserve the wood better. So I'm going a little bit more on the practical longevity side of it than the aesthetics of the pretty red cedar here. Alright, so we are almost done with the cross. I want to put one more coat of stain and sealer on there, just to give it an extra layer of protection on there. I've gone through and I kind of knocked off a couple places where I had a little run or something like that, get it evened out, did a little bit of sanding on there, and we're changing up how we're doing it here. I put a little hole in the ground over here so that way we can stand this thing up and we can do the whole thing at once instead of having to do one side, waiting for that to dry, and then flipping it over. Alright, well, I gotta say I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I think it looks really nice. The stain color, it works. Especially against this nice bright grass here. It looks really good. Did a little bit of dressing up around the base there, got some of the sod out of the way, put some wood chips in there. Hopefully that'll keep the string trimmer away from the base of it and get that whacking into it. So hopefully that'll keep it better a little bit longer. This is gonna be it for this week. I hope all of you guys have a very happy Easter. Stay safe. Next week we'll be back to working on the Millhouse again, so you can look forward to seeing that again next week. And until then, as always, I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you next week.